The original Castle Freak is one of those classics that feels kind of perverse and naughty to watch. With a cast of recognizable genre icons, Barbara Crampton and Jeffrey Combs, an inherited castle that would be the setting for many a full moon film, and a nightmarish monster design, Stuart Gordon and Charles Band delivered one of their under-the-radar best films. Crampton returns in the producer's chair and shares that seat with Fangoria to deliver a remake of Castle Freak, inspired a skosh by an H.P. Lovecraft story. Let's find out if the remake is as freaky as the original. Welcome back to ML Miller Frights, a part of the Kings of Horror Network. I'm ML Miller. While you might be watching this video on the Kings of Horror Network, I urge you to click over to my ML Miller Frights page and give it a like, share with your buddies across the electronic superhighway, click subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to ring that bell for notifications. Castle Freak 2020 is new, streaming on Shudder. It's directed by Tate Steinsiek and written by Kathy Charles. Rebecca Waitley, played by Claire Catherine, is having one of those good news, bad news situations. Sure, she was recently stricken blind when her drunk boyfriend John, played by Jake Horowitz, crashed their car. But she's also inherited an Albanian castle from her estranged mother Lavinia, played by Kika Megales. So hey, you take the good with the bad. Upon arriving in the castle, Rebecca feels a presence within the walls and a powerful calling to keep the castle. This counters John's desire to flip the house for a big payoff. When their friends show up to party in the new digs, the rift between Rebecca and John increases. Secrets about elder gods, ancient ceremonies, and dark rituals are uncovered when the Necronomicon is found in a secret compartment that ties to Rebecca's past. And there's something in the walls that is hungry and angry. Hangry. Right off the bat, I wanted to love Castle Freak. The first half hour felt extremely much like an 80s Italian flick, like Argento's Phenomenon, Suavi's The Church, Metelli's The Other Hell, Bava's Demons, or The Beyond. Much of the lighting in the opener were Suspiria-esque, with bright reds and greens lighting up the party Rebecca goes to before her fateful crash. There's a decadence to the way the kids are partying, as if these were Europeans partying, not Americans, even though it is supposed to be set in Boston for the opening scenes. Everything has that old world feel to it, clashing with the new world mentality, which felt like an ongoing theme in Argento, Bava, and the like during the time. Even the faux pop rock soundtrack felt genuinely Italian 80s to me. There was just a distinct atmosphere that this film is able to capture that appealed to me, mainly because I love that era in Italian horror. There's a danger to it all, as if behind every corner is a perverse and indescribable nightmare. Unfortunately, after the setting and atmosphere is set, things sort of devolve into more of a Charles Band-style film, which is more akin to the original produced by Band, with the group trapped in an old castle being picked off one by a vampire, puppet, demon, doll, or in this case, a twisted freak of nature named Marku. Characters lack all form of character and simply bide time, strip, or party obliviously before they are killed off. Discourse is plopped out in the laziest of fashions as a character dubbed the Professor, played by Chris Gallust, drops information like a mad bombardier, guiding the readers by the short and curlies rather than allowing them to discover information on their own through the story. Infobomber, the Professor, is one of the more annoying characters, which is not good as the film sort of hinges on his role later on, and beyond, given what the after credits bumper suggests in an equally clumsy bit of fan service. Had more action played out in the scene, or been incorporated in a more active manner, I think a lot of my issues with Castle Freak would have evaporated. Castle Freak deviates from the original in some crucial ways that ended up making it less enjoyable for me. The original focused on a family unit, making the connections between the cast much more personal. The remake gets rid of this familiarity and instead relies on the cast knowing each other simply because they all used to party together. And unfortunately, that's not as close a bond, making the deaths less resonant when they occur. Rebecca has obviously given up the party life after her accident, and John in kind has become sober, but the rest disregard her sobriety and bring drugs and alcohol to the castle. This ends up tempting John, who is distancing himself from Rebecca and proving to be more of an asshole in every scene he appears in. So the familial bond between husband, wife, and child that ties them all together in the original is reflected as an estranged friendship in the remake. This leaves Rebecca alone against her mysterious past, which is less complex of a story to tell and also less layered thematically. More importantly, while the original Castle Freak dips its toe into Lovecraftian lore, as it is thinly based on Lovecraft's The Outsider, the remake dives nose first into the mythos, tying the Wheatley line back with the dark god Yog-Sothoth itself. Cthulhu imagery is found throughout the story in sculpture, paintings, and graffiti in the Albanian village. The convenient finding of the Necronomicon makes it even more deep into the lore, while the final moments feel much more like an adaptation of the Dunwich Horror or the Call of Cthulhu than anything else. It's great to see Yog-Sothoth in all of its tentacly glory, but still the over-the-top ending lacked a lot of sense and seemed to be some kind of Frankensteinian monster whittled together from other films at the last minute with little care about what it all looked like. The film ends rather messily, which is going to leave many not familiar with Lovecraft scratching their noggins. In the original, much was made of the look of the Castle Freak and his full-body prosthetic. It was a truly impressive sculpt, making it one of the more iconic monsters of its era. The modern update is equally elaborate, but isn't as iconic simply because it feels like there's just too much attention to the smaller details and less on the overall creepiness of the look. There are more cosmic, otherworldly body horrors at play with this new monstrosity. The freak in the remake is female rather than male. One of the more shocking details of the original was that it shows fully that the monster has been castrated. It was part of the creature's rage and added more depth to its personality, as his motivation is lust and his inability to act upon that lust. This is highlighted especially during the climax when Crampton's mother character attempts to persuade the monster to leave her child be by offering up her own body in exchange. Changing the sex of the freak makes for a creepy scene of man rape, but doesn't add as much to the character. There are definitely some creepy details to this new monster. It has some kind of projectile tentacle that comes out of its stomach. It's not a penis, but it's some kind of weapon used to strangle prey. But it also clearly has a vagina, which is highlighted in a gratuitous rape scene later in the film. All of it is ambiguous and messy, which muddies the themes that were clear and present in the original. This remake utilizes the shroud look the original wore, and it's just as creepy. Seeing the monster scramble about with a sheet barely covering its deformities makes it all the more horrifying. The tone of Castle Freak 2020 is all over the place. The aforementioned rape isn't as terrifying as it is comical. Despite the fact that the woman on top of John is replaced by a monster, the man doesn't notice the difference, even though the freak is running its grimy, leathery hands all over his body. I'm sorry, let me get gratuitous for a second, but while there is a similarity, not all vaginas are the same. Anyone who has had sex with a few people would tell you that the feeling is often quite different from one particular partner to the next. That's been my experience, at least. The fact that John is clueless when a woman riding him is replaced by a monster is ludicrous and takes things to a cartoonish level my suspension of disbelief just couldn't support. In the end, I did find Castle Freak entertaining. The effects are decently done, and it's admirable that an attempt to tie the story closer to the Lovecraftian mythos is made. I appreciate the gonzo ending that reaches for the stars of a distant cosmos. The end result might prove to be out of reach for this ambitious film, but it's interesting to see them attempt something different with the material. Maybe my negative critiques of this film might not have been there had there not been a Castle Freak before this remake. I should try to judge this one on its own merit, but the film leaves itself open to comparison simply by attempting to remake such a cult classic film. The original isn't perfect, but it successfully burrowed under my skin and festered there. This remake sacrifices that personal unease and instead attempts to incorporate some level of the Lovecraftian insanity that is difficult to achieve. Die-hard fans of the original are not going to be satisfied with the new Castle Freak, but those who try to approach this one with an open mind, or those who have no idea that this is a remake, might feel it's a worthy descent into the abyss. That'll be it for today. Please chime in the comments and let me know what you think of this video, how on the nose or mind-numbingly wrong I am, or you can counter with your own review. If you like this video, please pound that thumbs up button. Share this video with your social media addicted pals. If you're looking for written reviews, you can find them on mlmillerwrites.com. Don't forget, I have 2 new horror comic book trade paperbacks you should look for. Grave Trancers is out right now, and Pirouette, collecting never-before-published issues, will be out in November in only the finest of comic book stores. And be sure to subscribe to this channel and ring that bell for alerts to be the first to see my future videos. Thank you so much for your time, and take care.
You're doomed to live the life you're meant to be, stuck inside your reality. You're doomed. Oh, you're doomed. You're doomed. You're doomed. Live the life that you are meant to be. Live inside that